It's Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and this is Genealogy Chat. We are coming to you live from the Willenard Genealogy Center, which is a service of the Eckhart Public Library. We are open Monday and Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon. We're broadcasting live on the library's Facebook page, and then we will be uploading this to the library's YouTube page. I want to tell you about some things that are happening in the future. On July 1st, we will be celebrating the Willenard Genealogy Center's 20th anniversary. So we're going to have tours and all sorts of special things for you. So stay tuned on that. Future shows. Next week, the State of Indiana's Historical Preservation Society has designated this month as the early female architects month. May 19th, our topic will be Auburn History. The 22nd of May is Auburn Main Street's celebration of historic Auburn. They will be having walking tours and horse tours and so forth. And our Memorial Day show will talk about the history of Memorial Day and how to locate veterans' records on different databases. Today's Cinco de Mayo, so we're celebrating that. Woohoo! And just a little bit of history. It's not what we all think. It's in 1862, there was a battle between Mexico and France, and Mexico won the battle. And so that's the origin of Cinco de Mayo, and basically it's just a celebration of the friendship between Mexico and the United States. It's also another very important event. In 1961, Alan Shepard made his famous trip. He was the first American in space. It was a 15-minute trip, which I suppose is similar to what Elon Musk and Richard Branson are doing now. Well, similar to it, but it was a very big event. And the next thing, a genealogy resource that's very important are the yearbooks. We have a lot of Auburn, Garrett, Butler, and Waterloo. Mm-hmm. And today we're going to talk about a very fun topic, the YMCA Teen Canteens. And take it away, please, Steve. Tell us about the history of the YMCA Teen Canteen.
Yes, I started digging into the history and familiarizing myself with the ancient history of the YMCA. I discovered that there's a lot of 100-year events that happen, that things go around and come around every 100 years. And what I discovered was that the canteen, as we know it, as we all experienced it in our lifetimes, started actually in 1944 at the YMCA, and Josie Holden was the director of that activity. Now, 100 years prior to that, in London, England, the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, was created. So that was the first 100 years. So the YMCA was created in London. By 1851, before the Civil War, it had come to the United States and was very popular. And Boston was the first town that had a YMCA. What I discovered was that the YMCA had several missions over the years. And one of the things that they were very much involved with were working with the troops during the Civil War. And at one time, there were like 5,000 volunteers, not paid, not in the military, but helping the troops relate to their home environments or get letters written or being taught how to read back in those days. So the YMCA, this was before the Red Cross existed. So everything we think about today that the Red Cross does, the YMCA alone did in those times. The other thing that struck me was the blackouts that we experienced in my time started actually at the YMCA during the Spanish-American War, where troops were entertained by various prominent entertainers from the United States, and they even traveled abroad. So entertaining the troops with some sort of a show was part of the YMCA history. So now fast forward to the turn of the century, the 1900, and in Auburn lived a fellow by the name of Charlieeckhart. Charlie was a very prominent citizen in the town. He had a carriage company, but his kids wanted an automobile. So they decided they were going to build an automobile. And by the fourth of the year of that century, Frank, his son, and Morris, they worked on and were completing an automobile, and they published them and they manufactured them here in Auburn, and the Auburn Automobile Company was created. So Charlie was a very devout man. He was a prohibitionist. He did not like liquor. So he was well aware of the YMCA and how successful and how important it was in the community to have a YMCA. So he decided he was going to build one. Now, he had already built the public library, and he did a very fine job building a very nice building. But in 1914, he said, I want to build a YMCA here in Auburn. So he looked around for good properties. He saw one. The best property in town was on Main Street. It just happened to be a tavern on that location and a hotel. So he said, good riddance to the hotel. The hotel was torn down. The tavern was gone. Up came the YMCA. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to how much that cost. One said $35,000 to build that YMCA. Another said $55,000, but who knows? You know, I wasn't there. It wasn't my money, so I couldn't care. Anyhow, the building was great. So in 1914, the building was created. It had a tennis court out behind, a clay tennis court. It had a bowling alley. It had a billiard table. It had a pool table. It had a swimming pool, showers. It had the library, which was a very important part of the mission of the YMCA, building good minds. So in 1914, the building was built. It was very well constructed. They had terrazzo floors in the library, the lobby of the building, and slate and tile roofs on top. He built good buildings so they would not need to be repaired, and the cost of repair was not going to be a problem for that organization. And indeed, the library recently replaced their roof with the same roofing materials that had been on there since 1911. So, 1914, the next century that came by was the next big event was 1944, when the canteen was created by Josie Holden. Her husband, Hawk Holderman, was there also, creating and helping getting the organization, and a school teacher and a principal by the name of Lloyd Miller, which many of you will remember, was the principal of the high school at the time. So they decided they were going to have a canteen. Now, the idea of a canteen in 1944 was very popular because in 1941, at the beginning of World War II, many organizations came together and they created the USO, and they had canteens throughout the country. There were like 3,000 of them created over the years for entertaining the troops when they were off duty in various cities and in various parts of the world. So there were all kinds of canteens. So the idea of having a canteen for youth was not a novel idea. It was just something that, well, okay, let's we don't have any military people around here in 1944, so let's do it for the youth. And so they did. Now, again, going back 100 years was when the whole thing began, and now the 1944 was 100 years later, and it's when the youth canteen was created. In 2014, the building was sold off, and it was interesting because a fellow by the name of Darrell Doden, which some of you know, bought the building, and Darrell is also a man who does not like liquor. And so, like Charlieeckhart, Darrell said, no liquor. And I'm sure that in the renovations and so forth, there's no liquor involved. So the 100 years goes by every so often, and the world changes, the world turns. But the canteen was an interesting place. When I was there in the mid-40s. I kind of remember, and I may be wrong, but I kind of remember on the south end of the room where it was located was a soda fountain. Now, they didn't have ice cream in it anymore, but there was a soda fountain, I think, down there, a counter. But other things in that room were, there was a jukebox. I remember the jukebox, and it cost a nickel for a play. And they were, at that time, 45 RPM records. They were the new records, the new 45s. Wow, we were very high strung, you know. And we could play checkers down there. We could do our homework down there with the help of somebody that would help us. And Josie Holden was always there to listen, to hear our complaints, to hear our problems, and to give us a little word of encouragement, not to give us a lot of advice. She was very smart about that. But she was a very important person in my life, and I'm sure in the lives of many people around there. So here we go. In 1944, it started. I was there 10 years later in 54. And I'm sorry to say it no longer exists. However, there is some discussion at the YMCA here in Auburn about reviving the concept of having another youth program. So maybe it can happen. It would take a very special person to organize it and be the director of it. But I'm hoping and praying that it could happen.
Thank you. Before we proceed, I want to introduce everybody. On the end here is Judy Bishop and Barb Wessel and Steve Andrews and John Wilson, Diane Mannon, and Sherry Seibel. And at this point, I'd like to take you to something on the web, on our website, library homepage. Let me go back a bit. On our website, we have a segment. Here we are. Let me enlarge this so I can see it. On our main website, on the far right side of the screen, is a link for online photo archives. And if you click on that, then you can go to search. And I need to enlarge this again. And I'm just going to do a keyword search here. And these are photos. Oh, thank you. And these are photos that we have stored on our server. All sorts of historical photos. And I'm just going to do, thank you, Sherry, a search for YMCA. And it'll search all of the towns. It's a very slow website, and it retrieves. Let me enlarge this again.
Look at the pictures already we're seeing.
and it retrieves.
Yeah, because Steve, while you were talking, we were saying that that Canteen Blackout entrance was added.
Yes.
And that's what we're gonna see here in YMCA.
And that's one of them.
Yeah.
And you can always email us and request copies of these photos. Let's see, this is the
Oh, yeah, that's the
gymnasium
gymnasium.
wall.
And showing the gymnasium, we used to have dances, the Sadie Hawkins dance. The teens would go up there at the Y after the home games and dance. We just,
This is the record.
Record hop.
record hop, right.
Sock hop.
And sock
I was gonna say,
hop, yeah.
sometimes we couldn't wear our shoes
Yeah.
when they redid the floor.
Right, and then this tells you a little bit about it, and the place is Auburn. I better enlarge this again. And this is the YMCA, and then if you want a copy of it, you just send us, you just click on this, and we'll send you a copy of the picture. Now I want to show you some other things that are interesting. Here's one. See if I can enlarge this. This is a picture that I want to show you.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The year is 1929, 1930.
So who wants to tell me
Oh, John, you need to speak to
About-
this picture.
about this picture? Should I enlarge it?
It's not.
Let me enlarge it a little bit.
It's
Is that
pretty,
big enough?
pretty good.
Should I
Yes.
enlarge it again?
Mm-mm. No, because we're losing Francis Frederick.
Okay.
Yes. Okay,
We
so
want that
take it
in?
over, John.
Yes. What can you tell us about this picture, John?
This was a surprise. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen it until I got here. My mother graduated from Auburn High School in 1930, and her father and my grandfather had the Auburn City Hardware downtown, which is now a restaurant, and they had a wholesale hardware out on Indiana Avenue, which used to be part of the McIntyre building, I think, when McIntyre was making cars earlier in the century.
And
Mom talked about going to the Y. It was curious because in my day,
he's right there.
it was
can't,
very
yes.
common because
Oh, you can't
I
see the
remember
mouse.
asking her once, did you get to wear swimsuits at the Y? And she said, well, of course we did. We had a special suit that was, we were allowed to wear.
Issued,
And
yeah.
we, of course, didn't. And I did a little research yesterday and found out that in 1926, there was an organization in the United States, if I can get the name, that presented a handbook on health. And YMCAs across the United States
Oh, wow.
took this handbook to heart. The group was called the American Public Health Association. And in 1926, they came up with a handbook saying if you have a swimming pool, and because chlorination and so forth wasn't probably perfected at that point, they thought that the better way to treat a pool, and Ys were basically for young men, so the better way to treat the pool was to have the young men, before they go swimming, to take a brisk shower and then be checked by someone to make sure you're clean, and then you could go swimming. And of course, we had no suits. But later on, I read that this practice continued until that organization withdrew their handbook in 1962. But the source I read yesterday was from Chicago. I guess some public schools also adopted the same policy, and theirs carried into the 70s, much to the chagrin of some parents and some kids who felt a little awkward going to public school and having to swim in the pool in the nude. But that was my experience growing up in elementary school in Auburn, and swimming in the nude was the thing that we did, and I didn't think a thing about it because that's what everybody did. But Mom said that they did have special suits for women that I think had minimal dye in it and were made of course, suits back then were made of cotton and wool, and I think they were concerned about filtration systems in pools, and therefore, I don't know if we have a picture of any of those, but they were interesting outfits that the women could wear, and they looked very much like women bathing in the 20s, I guess. But I don't know that I should have brought that up. But anyway, that was my mother in 1930, and I didn't realize that she was part of that organization.
Well, in that picture, she was right in the middle in the second row, Frances Frederick, and that was the name that was written across. And that kind of leads me into the part of research when Jane asked us to come a couple weeks ago. We sat around the room here and we pulled out yearbook after yearbook, and this just happens to be the Follies from 1926. And we think of the Y organizations from our high school years, mostly for the boys it started out, but then it was in the year that your mom was a senior in 1930, that was the first chance that the girls could be a part of a Y organization, and they were called the Girls High Y. Before that, there was the Boys High Y, and then the girls. So your mom probably told you that, and you didn't remember it because you couldn't relate to it.
I forgot.
But you have to come to the genealogy, if for no other reason, just to get out some of these older yearbooks and read the narratives, because it's fantastic. Now, Jane, do you want me to just go ahead and do a little bit more conversation about them?
Yes,
Okay.
please, Sherry.
Well, this that I'm looking at is 1919, and we were talking earlier, we just don't remember when we were in high school going off to the Y to have meetings, but when it was originally organized, like this in 1919, said that the regular meetings, just for the boys then, were held every Wednesday evening. Some business or professional man would give a talk at that meetings, and then there would be following discussions. And then the purpose of the club, when it was organized in 1917, was to create, maintain, and extend throughout school high standards of Christian character, and to bring the boys of the high school into closer fellowship. So it was probably, the uplifting fellowship. They were probably good pals, but the Y and the Y organizations wanted to get that Christian character. So then, still in those Follies yearbooks, then I have another narrative that says that in 1917 they were organized, they were reorganized in 1923, and then in the 26th yearbook it says that every Tuesday evening they would go to the YMCA and they would have their meetings. And usually a reverend of one of the churches would be a part of the meetings. So see, we missed out on a lot when we just had our organizations right at the high school. Now, Jane, can I go ahead and mention the distinction? And then you guys just join in if there's anything here.
We have to correct you, not
Oh,
correct, but when.
Add,
61, 62, I'm not sure. We went to the Y for our.
for your meetings?
High Y, well, High Y, the guys did.
Yeah.
I think one Monday, each group had their chance to meet
And it was like
in the
at
building
6:30 or
downstairs in the
something,
canteen.
wasn't it, like at 6:30? Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're always learning, aren't we? So the organizations for the girls in their freshman and sophomore years, they were the Teen Y. And then as they graduated, or the junior and senior, as it says on the placard here, was the Tri-High Y. And then the boys, and you remember, Steve, where the term plebes came from here? Because if you were a freshman and sophomore boy, you were a member of the plebes. And then when you reached junior and senior years, then it was the High Y.
Thank
And
you.
we'll move on.
So Barb, what can you tell us about the blackouts?
I couldn't find a lot of information, pretty much my memory from it. I found that it said it started in about 1948, but I couldn't find anything in the yearbooks till 1953, 56, 57. I know it stopped in 67 when they went to the
Auburn High School.
to the DeKalb High School. And I know they were at the Court Theater until that closed, and then they went to the McKinney School because they had a big auditorium over there. And I do know that. I know they started probably in March sometime to get around because you had to learn your whatever you were doing, and somebody had to make the outfits, and then the shows were in April. And I don't remember what they cost. I don't remember that at all.
No.
Do you? I don't remember what they cost. But I know it was a lot of fun. I did it 4 years, and then I did it for 3 years for my brother and his group to do it. And Barb Potter did a lot of the choreographs, and you said Barb Warren did a lot of the choreographs too. And we couldn't find a lot of pictures, to bring. But it was a lot of fun, I do know that.
I would imagine the Genealogy Center here has a lot of those Canteen Blackout pictures.
Yes, we do. So
We're gonna show
Diane,
some.
what can you tell us about some of the performances in which you participated?
Well, one time I was Raggedy Ann, and we had two a Raggedy Ann and Andy, and a Raggedy Ann and Andy, and of course we had some kind of dance that Barb Orrin coordinated. Let's see what else. Gosh, we've got a picture here somewhere of us in like a tutu, and we did some kind of a jump rope dance, which was interesting. Just now, Pat, back before my time, in fact, you get in here twice because your dad, Don Wilson, directed a chorus group, and this was a Teen Y chorus, and they cheered the citizens of Auburn during the Christmas season with their beautiful singing, and then they had a very talented chorus group, and this was from the 53 annual, directed by Mr. Don Wilson in the Canteen Blackout that year. So,
Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I can add one thing.
Yes.
I
yes,
talked
John.
to Kathy, I'll call her Kathy Holderman, she was in my high school class, and she was a granddaughter of the Holdermans that
Joe, yeah.
started the Y. And she said that her grandmother asked her to be part of the Canteen Blackout in 1953 because they didn't have enough acts. She was 5 years old and sang a song. And the next year, her grandmother said, I think we need you again, so she came back and sang another song the next year. And the year after that, her grandmother said, I think we have enough acts now, and it should be for the high school kids, so that ended her career until she was in high school.
So Judy, what can you tell us about some of the performances or happy memories you have of the canteen?
Here we go. Yes. The Canteen Blackout was special.
Yes.
It was the thing that you looked forward to, and every year, freshmen through seniors, you could get a bunch of girls, or one year we had couples, and our junior year, we decided we wanted to be cats. And so we're thinking leotards and real cute little ears, and Barb Warren was she did the We Are Siamese
Oh,
song.
yes. I know that.
And our outfits were looked like pajamas. They were big white fuzzy things, and we had a hood that had the thing. They were terrible. And it wasn't quite what we pictured we were going to look like. But that was the fun thing. And then going to the canteen, not the blackout, but the canteen at the Y, was a wonderful place for kids, students to
There you go.
Oh, golly, there we are.
Are you in this picture?
Yeah, somewhere.
Aw.
Yeah, that's funny. But anyway, but we would go up to the canteen and they had the jukebox, but I don't remember ever having to pay.
I don't either.
So it was free by the time we got there. And
I had paid for it.
I guess.
would dance and at that time, that was in 60, well, from 60 to 64 for me, Josie Baxter was our mother, canteen mother, and she was a sweetheart. She could keep the boys in line, but I think I was thinking to myself, it'd be awfully difficult to do something like that now, because we had the church and we had the Y and we had the school and then we had our parents all thinking on the same line, and it really kept all the kids in line, because if Jessie didn't like it, then mom and dad's gonna know, and the school and the church all had the same idea. But it was a wonderful place and a safe place.
Yes.
So,
And a nurturing place.
yes.
Can you be, Steve, can you be more, can you tell us more about what you mean by nurturing?
Josie was in her 50s when she started this program. And she sort of, as I think back on it, she was sort of like somebody's great aunt. Not somebody's mother, not somebody's grandmother, but it's sort of a foxy lady. She was a good looking lady. And she understood the urges teenage girls and boys had. And she didn't condemn that. She just said, don't do it. And she did so in a way that you said, okay, that's what I don't want to do that. Of course, there were some people that, would go over to Ohio and buy 3-2 beer and then drive drunk, all the way back to Auburn, and then it would have an auto accident or something. But it was, for the most part, we were good kids because of what you just said. Everybody, the standards were universal. And I'm not sure that we have that today. There are parents that would say, well, let them do anything. There are parents that would say, I want to be their friend, not their parent. And I'm not sure that it would take a very special person to pull it off today. Josie, in a sense, and Jessie had it easy compared to today.
Well, we had good ethics and good morals back then.
Yeah. And they were universal.
Yes.
Everybody was on, like you said, on the same page. We understood what the rules were, and if you violated the rules, there would be consequences. You can imagine that. Consequences. Yeah. Life was different today.
Well, I'm holding my 1965 Follies yearbook, and the year that I graduated, and we were talking about the different sponsors. This actually says Mrs. Betty Grosh. That's Dave Grosh's mother, was the sponsor of the Canteen Blackouts, and she was talking to two of the seniors there and organizing it. And then another name that a lot of us will remember is Harold Snyder. So,
Snip.
well, yeah, Snip, yeah.
Yeah.
Never called him Harold, he had his nickname, which is groovy for him, like that. But, and you mentioned the blackouts in the spring. Well, the narratives are nice in these books, and this is what it says. On April 2nd and 3rd, the Canteen Blackout was held. The proceeds from this show were given to the fund drive for the new community swimming pool. And now we don't have that pool anymore. It's been filled in, or it's just, but the show was called The Big Splash. Now, every year there was a theme. One of the pictures that coming up, it was the Toyland theme. And what was the theme that you said when you were cats?
I don't know.
But it was,
But we
you
were
know,
cats.
it kind of helped the groups and the sponsors that organized the routines to focus and enjoy it and bring in a lot of fun. But then something else that a part of the clubs, the Y clubs always had initiation. So raise your hand if you had to walk in the fair in a costume. Yes, we all had to dress up in weird things and parade
I think we had to wear bathing suits wrong side out.
Yes.
bathing suits and our
Wrong
gym
side out.
suits and,
You had to switch shoes with one other person, so you had one of yours and one of the other person's shoes.
yeah, so, I mean, they were letting
Had
us
to wear a
have.
gunny sack, and a flipper, and a boot,
Oh, yes,
woman's swimsuit underneath or over it. I think it was over the gunny sack.
and walking the whole
And
parade
then walk through the
route
parade. and
with
That
that,
pet parade.
I think you had to stay in
Yeah.
costume until noon, and then you
yes, yeah,
were free.
so,
That was
and then,
amazing.
and what, go ahead, Judy.
Oh, I'm gonna change the subject,
Oh,
sorta.
yeah.
But with those clubs, when I was looking at the information, like the Tri-IY, every month or every week, whenever they did it, would have a speaker or somebody come in. And and the ones that I noticed, the one came in and was teaching the girls manners. And then another one was decorating for Christmas. So they were all very girly type of speakers.
Well, I want to quickly show you some of the photographs that you all donated or are found on our website. I found this one on our website, and this is a very special photo. Judy, can you tell me what's special about this?
Yes, this was a class of 62, and that's Mark Holderman. And
Left.
to the right would be Joe Limper, and in the middle is my husband, Jack Bishop. And they had a little band.
And Joe was just killed after he graduated.
Before graduation.
Before
Before
graduation.
graduation, Joe died.
Coming back from Ohio.
Mm.
Him and Steve Fox.
Oh.
I think.
Let me try this again. The next photo, I don't know if any of you can identify it, but this is another example of one of the blackouts with a Batman and a Catwoman. But I found that on our website. This is not working the way I had hoped. Well, that's all right. The next one, maybe some of you recognize this.
Oh, yeah, the guys
The
are
guys.
The Indians.
dressed up like Hawaiians.
Mm-hmm. But these are all the fun things that happened at the canteen. Well, let's see. The bunnies, oh yes. And then we have,
It looks so familiar
Rabbits.
to me. So.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
and let's see what
Those are
else.
guys.
We don't,
Yeah.
now here, would the years be on these different photos? If someone
Yes.
wanted to
Yes,
know that?
the
Okay.
years are on the different photos. Thank you for mentioning that, Sherry. Let me go back and to our website and enter the word canteen, just for fun, and, well, 71 results. Let me, that's probably too,
No, no,
Yes,
that's
that's
okay.
That's my year.
this is 1962,
That's my class.
7 young men holding the musical instruments.
Yeah, can you blow that one out?
Yep.
'Cause that's-
And, oh,
That's not 62.
it's not.
No.
Oh, well then that's,
That's David
Go-
John.
I need your
Well,
help with that.
With the trombone is Phil Emerson, and he was 65.
And there was
Graduate.
64 people in
Yeah,
there.
and 64, so it's a blend, but
So
we'll
we
tell you
need-
who they are.
We need your assistance. with
Yeah.
this.
And the twins,
and-
who were the
there it
twins? The
is.
saxophone player,
Bio.
the Bio twins on the far right, and the
David
saxophone
John is the majorette.
right in the middle. And Bill Henning, my classmate, was the tuba player. So we didn't all have to be in the same grade, but it was strictly for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Kids.
And let's see, maybe this one.
That's Johnny
any-
Bullock and Dave Lum.
Yeah.
They were 63.
1963.
And this is another one that I found online on our website. But these are wonderful, wonderful memories. Oh, the kimonos.
Mm-hmm.
This is also on our
Oh.
website.
63.
You recognize anyone from,
Karen McComas on the left.
And
I don't know how to bring
Mock,
this.
what was her first name?
Betty?
Betty Mock. And Jan Heights is on the end.
On the far right, Jan
Is
Heights.
that Johnny Bullock, the next one? No, it's
No.
Tuttle, Connie Tuttle.
Oh.
Okay.
And,
Can we show all of them?
Yep.
Okay.
let's see, we looked at this one. Oh, here's another one that might be.
That's a mixture
You
too,
might know some of the,
because that's Will
Fellas?
Seagrave's in the middle.
Yeah.
Tom Goodwin in the black sweater. And Silberg, isn't it? The second from the left? You would know him, wouldn't
No.
you?
That's not Silver.
Allison.
Yeah.
Allison,
Allison,
yes,
Phil
yes,
Allison.
Phil Allison.
Oh, and there's Paul Dwyer?
Yeah,
on
Paul
the
Dwyer
end?
on this
On the
side,
right. Oh, no,
No, on the
left.
on the left.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what'd they do? Just sing?
I don't know.
Probably. They
I
looked
can't imagine
pretty
them singing, they
stoic
were
there.
probably just being fools.
Yes.
Making noises.
Well, that shows the gymnasium
Oh,
there
yeah,
where
that's,
this occurred.
and these are all available on the Eckhart Public Library website. And if you're interested in getting a copy, you just, let's see, do I have, yeah, we looked at the ladies in the tutu.
yeah, do that one.
Oh, we
Oh,
had,
that,
does this look,
Now, John, you
Familiar?
brought this one in.
what
How
can you
did you-
tell us about this,
I think it
John?
was 61.
mm-hmm.
Is that your class,
Mostly we're
Diane?
seniors, yeah.
Do you know who they are,
His
Diane?
sister, well, Mary, his sister is in that, Mary Wilson. Oh, Sandy Shook and
Oh. And the one,
Connie Metcalf,
Nancy Weir's the second from the right.
Alice Kinsey,
Yeah.
Yes, blowing the gun
Jean Capon,
on the left.
Judy Haynes, Barb Hess, Janet Carrico. I think that's about all of them.
You know, the costumes were fantastic, weren't they? Everything was so realistic when they, I don't know if how we got all these, but go to that one. That's, when you mentioned,
Ooh,
okay,
Let's
that,
see.
these
Oh,
are
I
the
can enlarge
1965.
Yeah, Maureen Gruder.
Okay, top
Were you
left
in
is
that?
Mary West, going across the back, Susie Kingsbury, Judy Rubman, Kathy Smith, Sally Steebing, front row, Sherry Davis, Barb Barheit, Maureen Gruder, and Connie Campbell. I think I still have that costume. I was just like,
and Sherry Davis
yes, yeah, Sherry Seibel.
the young lady sitting next to me, Sherry Seibel.
And we have to interject that a lot of these pictures were given to us from Kelso Davis, the local photographer, Davis Studio.
Oh, this
there's
is one that
okay,
Sherry-
John, talk about
Sherry-
That's
this.
the fair.
Yeah,
Donated this to us.
It's the initiation
girls.
ones. The
Oh.
girl, a group of girls in the initiation that you were talking about. Well, maybe the
Yeah.
guys are there too, are they?
well, that's the gym suits that we wore and the flippers on our feet. And you said that was the pep parade,
Yes, the
that
pep
when we
parade.
did
Friday morning.
initiation. Okay,
These are fascinating. I'm so happy
and
that you all
go
are
to that
here.
one first.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what can you all tell me? Oops,
This was
that's-
the year that we did
that's nice.
Toyland. And so again, this is some of my classmates, Patsy Swartz, Carolyn Ballman, Jane Kleeman, Sandy Rediger, I was going from the left to the right, Linda Metcalf in the middle, Julie Mitchell, Genevieve Lemper, Barb Hefty, and the clown was Sherry Davis. Which actually, now I know how we got some of these costumes. My grandmother Henninger made that for her daughter. And then being the daughter of, I had to stay in that routine. I had to stay stuffed in that box until there was time when it was the Jack in the Box coming out. So I do recall that. Amazing.
Just adorable, Sherry. You're just
Yes, of course.
so cute.
Well, we enjoyed, Jane, so much having the pre-conversation on these.
Yes, they've had a lot of fun coming in here and just visiting. I hope you'll all come back because this is something I'd like to discuss at least one or two more times. I hope you'll consider it. Well, I want to thank all of my wonderful guests, Judy Bishop, Barb Wessel, Steve Andrews, John Wilson, and Diane Mannon, Sherry Seibel, and of course the wonderful men behind the cameras, the geniuses, Zach Hymack and Andrew Lavargetta. And I want to thank you for watching the show. And let's see, again, we're coming to you live from the Willenar Genealogy Center. And you can watch this show on our Facebook page, or it will be uploaded to YouTube. And before we leave, we want to show you some of the wonderful things that Sherry brought. Can you describe some of these to us, Sherry?
Oh, well, the yellow, we all know what those were, the cords, senior cords. And draping on the far right is just a leather sweater for a majorette, Danita. And that was her costume that had the big red devil on it. That was the top of her twirling costume. And the clothes bag is in the bright red middle there. That's some of the sports teams carried their things there. Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I'll see you next week when we talk about early female architects. They're all from Fort Wayne. And again, thank you, my guests, my friends, and we will see you next week.